Speaking of Mammoth Film Festival, when did you start it and how did that come about?
And the first one happened in 2018. Maybe one of the fastest growing film festivals in the nation right now.
We brought our short film up, The Big Break.
That's right.
With Gil Freston and Jack Heston and Ian.
Don't drop names.
Crew.
Jack Nicholson told me that.
Dude, exactly.
Yeah. You're listening to Studio 22.
Welcome to Studio 22. I'm your host, Will Meldman, with my amazing co-host, as always, Brock O'Hearn.
I think that's me. Yep.
That is you. We are here with Tanner Beard, the founder of the Mammoth Film Festival and many other things. Welcome, Tanner.
Thank you guys for having me, man. Studio 22, here we are, baby. Beautiful view at Studio 22.
Yeah, they're not seeing it right now, but it is nice.
Yeah.
Yep. Just imagine a panoramic view of the city of Los Angeles. And
With
that's what we got.
not that much fog today. It looks nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
not too bad.
Yeah, man. But yeah, no, thanks for coming on.
Awesome to be here, man. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Are you kidding me? I was trying to think of the first time we met, dude. Do you remember?
No, I don't actually. It's funny because it's not like we've known each other for too terribly long, but we just we cross paths like once every year or two doing something, you know. But we did lose at bowling together, so we'll always have that.
I don't know about you, but my knee was wrecked. Yeah,
You learn when you get to be Brock's about 6'6", 6'5". You know, I'm about 6'6", 6'5", and bowling gets it wears the knees out for the tall people. I didn't realize that as a kid. It didn't, but I'm an elderly gentleman now.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Got to be careful out there.
You know what happens? We lost a teammate. That's what happened.
That's true. When your team starts to go down, we lost. We're talking about we bowled at the Mammoth Film Festival. They did the celebrity charity bowling tournament, and that was me, Brock, and who else was on our team?
I think we had the
Rolo from Vikings.
Yeah.
So it was like us three
sick.
big dudes on a team together, and we lost.
Well,
But we looked damn cool doing it.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, that's a pretty strapping bowling team right there.
Yeah.
There really is no reason why we lost. We should have won.
True.
Yeah. Well,
I
next year.
remember there was bowling. Is there a bowling alley kind of close to the event? Because I remember the year I went years ago, there was a bowling night as well.
Yeah, we Mammoth Lakes, California has an amazing bowling alley. You know, it kind of sticks out. So we've been doing the bowling celebrity charity bowling tournament there every year that we could. We didn't do it in 2021 just because COVID stuff was still. You know, hell, we were lucky to have the festival that year, so we didn't want to have our cake and eat it too. We were just all about the movies that year, but we definitely brought it back this year, and it was a lot of fun. But it's kind of a staple of the festival. But it's a lot of fun to do. Another excuse to just party.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a great time. Everyone has a good time doing that too, man. And speaking of Mammoth Film Festival, you know, when did you start it and how did that come about?
So it's an interesting fact. I'm a big film festival guy. I'm an indie film guy. I haven't done a lot of studio stuff, even in my short time, you know, in Los Angeles with my career. But Mammoth Film Festival was the first film festival I ever went to. So back in the day, back in 2007 or 8, it was just a random small festival that had started there in Mammoth. It has no relation to what, you know, we're doing now. And I had made a short Western, but it was just kind of a proof of concept. You know, we were just kind of talking about proof of concepts and how they're kind of coming back. But that's how I got my start, because who was going to give a 23-year-old kid a couple $1 million to go make a Western, you know, one of the hardest genres to try to make. So I wanted to have something to show for it. So I made a 30-minute Western, which is not a short. It's an epic short.
I love that.
30 minutes. Sure. But I didn't even know really what a short was. I just needed a proof of concept. And a friend of mine was a big snowboarder, and he was working with those guys that just created the Mammoth Film Festival. And it was about 2007, so we were able to go up there, and I just fell in love with the town. You know, it was my first, you know, festival experience, even though I'm pretty sure we were showing inside of a brewery, sitting on like yeast bags with a screen projected on a white wall. You know, I'm like, this is film festivals? This is great. So it only got better once you realized most of them were in a theater. But I really did fall in love with it. And I heard, you know, throughout the years as I started my career path in the movie industry, that in like 2010 or 11, these guys weren't doing it anymore. I was like, it's a shame. Like, I don't know. I've never been to Sundance, but I feel like this could be like the new Sundance or something. And I even saw it back then. And in 2015, I kind of wanted to come back and maybe circle back now that I had been to some film festivals and got to go to like Cannes and Berlin, France, and just all these ones that are like, now you really know what it is and what the purpose of it is. Trying to get your movie bought and sold there became really important. So I waited for that to dissolve and always kind of kept an eye on it. And then I actually, by 2016, had owned the words, or trademarked the words Mammoth Film Festival. So luckily, we were able to go back to Mammoth in 2017 when I had more time to kind of go, try to build it there. And the first one happened in 2018. So it was kind of a process. It started in 2015, but we didn't get to officially have the first festival until 18. But now it's its own brand new living thing. And, maybe one of the fastest growing film festivals in the nation right now, which is pretty cool. So.
Congrats on all the success too. It's
Thanks.
been amazing.
And I appreciate you
to
guys
watch.
all being a part of it and having projects up there, helping build it with us. That's a very cool thing. So we're very grateful for that.
We had so much fun. We brought our short film up, The Big Break.
That's right.
With Gil Freston and Jack Heston and I don't want to. If I list people, then I'll leave someone out. But it was a great team.
Don't
and
drop
a great
names.
crew.
Jack Nicholson told me that.
Dude, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. But yeah, no, I was like, it was such a thrilling weekend. And, you get out there, you feel the energy, and you're like, this is going to be massive.
That's great to hear, man. I appreciate that. Some festivals just like to show movies on a screen, and we definitely have an agenda of trying to do world premieres primarily, but also, we're in February for the first part, so it's a lot of movies, or it's their last chance to sell in that first quarter. Or if, it's hard to get into some of these bigger film festivals that we get, a lot of people say that we're very similar, but we're just a baby. We're coming into our 6th year, but operating as kind of a 25-year festival that we get compared to sometimes. So, but number one goal is, can you be seen? Are you meeting the right people? Can we bring enough people like yourselves out there to network with other people? And does your movie get bought and sold out there? And this year we sold 5 films there. I think Sundance might have only sold like 3 or 4 this year. So we were like, we're doing something right, But it's tough every year, man. It gets harder. It starts off with a blank slate every year.
It's like music to my ears, man, hearing all that. Like people supporting indie films. That's everything, right? That keeps the industry going.
We just do it until we sell out like everybody else. No, I'm just kidding. But it is important, because you want the festival to be bigger and you want to have all these movies in there. But, we're not showing like Indiana Jones and stuff up there, some that wouldn't really need us. But at the same time, we're not showing a movie that you'll never see. It's kind of that like medium ground, but we hope to strive to always be getting better and have more bowling tournaments.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But no, yeah, I think that's one thing that's so great about it too, is it's Mammoth, and for the movie industry, it comes out of LA for the most part. It's all over, right, the country, but LA, Hollywood is what it's notorious for. And it's a short couple-hour drive, right? It's not
funny too. You get a lot of anybody from the industry, producers, actors, and they're like, I grew up learning how to ski here. Yeah. If they're from California or neighboring places, even people from I knew an actor from Nevada, and he's like, dude, I remember being like 7 years old and my dad taking us to Mammoth to ski. Yeah. And he's like, I never thought I'd be back here for a film festival. And I'm like, I love those kinds of stories because I'm actually not from there either. So I have my own stories of coming up there, so it's cool that everybody gets to share in that when we get up there. But yeah, Mammoth is a great place for a film festival, dude. It absolutely is. We just need it to grow.
Where are you from originally?
So I'm from a little town called Snyder in West Texas. It's hard. I usually, on my cell phone, I just carry a map of Texas with me, so when people ask, I really just point. It's like 80 miles south of Lubbock, where Texas Tech is, 80 miles east of Midland, Odessa, where Friday Night Lights, the movie, is from.
Oh, yeah.
80 miles north of like Abilene, which is, kind of some West Texas, but it's in the middle of nowhere. But it's a charming little town. But if you ever drive through there, it's even sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I grew up here, man. I really can't. It's just so West Texas, Yeah. I went on Thanksgiving Day, we were driving through and there's 2 turkeys in the middle of town, walking to town square on Thanksgiving Day, and I was just remember thinking like, yeah, anywhere else that would be weird, but that is so normal here. Just 2 turkeys walking down the street.
How long were you there before you decided, the film industry was a way you wanted to go?
18, man. 18 years in Snyder, and then just this year celebrated 20 years pretty much in Burbank, Toluca Lake.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, cheers to us all for getting for coming out to
Cheers.
LA. That's half the battle, right?
That's
For
it.
sure.
It is a great town. It's just once you realize this town owes you nothing,
Yep.
then you can kind of maybe participate in it, you know.
Early on, I think one of the first things I heard was, they said if you can make it a year in LA, there's a pretty good chance you can make it.
Or in anything.
Yeah.
A lot of people are here for that 10-year mark and then go off and just, completely having like a giant other company in Florida or something else. And I don't know, there's something about sticking to LA though, if you can. Maybe you're going to win an Emmy or Academy Award one day or a comic book award.
Oh yeah. Love that.
So what about you guys? I mean, do you still like, your time in LA, or how do you feel about it these days?
It's a great question. I moved here to go to film school at USC. That was my dream, and that was an amazing experience, and joined a fraternity there at USC. I was the only film major in my fraternity.
What was your fraternity?
SAE.
Oh, okay. I wasn't a Sigma Chi, but I know the handshake.
Right.
So Sigma Chi will shoot me for that now, for knowing.
No, we won't reveal the secrets.
Cut that out.
Absolutely.
You guys should do it right here and just blur it out on the camera.
Yeah. And then, I started working in production and just stayed and kept working in production and following the dream. And, first feature film produced when I was 27, about 6 years ago.
So
and
young too, yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of my
Did I overhear you
relationship.
say that you get to work on Ocean's 11 as a young man?
I worked on Ocean's 13 as a PA.
Wow. I mean, it's not a bad way to jumpstart your your film school, right?
It was trial by fire, for sure. I didn't do the Vegas stuff because I was young, but I did the Warner Brothers on the lot stuff, which, is luckily more of the, quote, easy stuff versus being on location or something.
Dude, what a cool-ass movie just to, like, kind of sit back and be a fly on the wall even and just learn,
100%. That was my goal, right? Is not mess anything up and just observe.
Don't get kicked off a set.
Totally. 100%.
How was it? I know we're here for you. I just got sorry. But
I'm like asking you guys questions.
yeah, but for being on 13, how was that that feeling? Because I can imagine when you're making a film for the first time, nobody really knows if it's gonna, you have an idea, but you don't really know if it's gonna be successful or not. They already had massive success with 11 and 12, so was there like a camaraderie you noticed between the guys, or was there like everyone was kind of relaxed?
Yeah, was the set like
or,
easygoing at that point?
I would say definitely easygoing for sure. A lot of the actors and actresses were, established and had their careers going, and, they loved working together. I think that was a big part of it too, was they just enjoyed it, and Clooney would play basketball at lunch every day, and anyone on the crew was invited, and, definitely very relaxed environment. And
Was it the project? I'm sure we all have the project that was kind of like the one that like hooked us, so to speak. The hook never came out. Was that kind of something where you're like at that early age, you saw that and you're like, all right, I'm going to be in the movie business forever. Even if I don't know what I'm going to be doing forever, but I have to be in this industry forever.
I mean, I think you nailed it, right? Like that was more insightful than my version of it for sure. I think that's totally true. I think you nailed, like, seeing that was like, this is what I want to do, and I'll get up at 4 a.m. every day to do it. Right?
Yeah, because you saw something there, right? That you probably it's hard to explain. What was yours?
Yeah, dude. Funny enough, man, I just grew up super broke, and my dream from a young kid was just to be in film and TV.
Yeah.
And I really had no background in acting besides a play I did when I was like 12 in 8th grade or something.
Yeah.
But I got booked to do this music video randomly, and it sounds so funny, but it was very, it was like almost like a 50s boxer or something like that. And it was this MTV music video with this new band that they were blowing up. And I had nothing, dude.
Yeah.
I had nothing to my name. We shot it here in LA. It was the most amazing experience. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but I have to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, right.
I have to.
You're like, I don't know what this was, but it was way more important than that play.
Yeah. Exactly. The funny thing about it too, though, is that it got picked up and it was played in every single gym, every single place you could think of, constantly for like a year. So everybody that was like a hater of mine, or, like, or a doubt, you know, or naysayer, whatever it is, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. Have fun finishing your set, dude. Like,
you know, that's what it is. Is it's like once you do it, it is that kind of the footprints you leave behind, and they can never really be, you know, it can never go away. You did it, you know. Yeah. I think Tom Hanks was like, these movies, they live forever, you know.
Yeah, man. Well, what was yours?
You know, I was really lucky because, like I said, I grew up in West Texas, rural West Texas. But there was a gentleman, a few actors came out of my hometown. A guy named Powers Booth, who was like Curly Bill Brocious and Tombstone, and an amazing actor, won an Emmy. He's kind of like, you know, the biggest guy to really come out of Snyder. Kevin Alejandro, as of recent, and some other guys are from there. But the guy named Barry Tubb, who played Wolfman in the original Top Gun, and had done several movies in the 80s, but I think Top Gun was probably the biggest one, you know, still is.
Sure.
But he had been friends with like Julia Roberts and Bruce Willis and all these people growing up. And when I was 16, he did a movie in my hometown and brought it there. And it just all of a sudden, you know, the town was getting flooded with movie stars to come do this essentially movie that was kind of like a Free Willy about a boy and his cow instead of boy and his whale.
Oh, wow.
There in West Texas. But, it was Joey Lauren Adams from Big Daddy with Adam Sandler that would just come out recently. Emma Roberts, you know, as a young kid was in it. She used to bash me in the head with Barbie dolls. I'll see her in town every once in a while, too. And it's just funny because, like, you know, we knew each other when we were kids.
That's cool.
But I was like 16 getting to work on this movie. And, you know, I had to go back to high school that next year. And nobody would believe me that, like, I got to, like, drive Julia Roberts around, because nobody was doing that. I got to meet like Bruce Willis and George Strait and, you know, Natalie Maines from the Dixie Chicks and just all these just amazing, huge celebrities, you know, especially, you know, Julia Roberts, my God, at that time in the 90s. So that was something where it was like not only film school for me, but just like getting to, you know, see that life, you know, that was so distant and fantasy actually kind of become real. And you just get lucky enough where it winds up in your hometown where nothing happens. So hats off to Barry Tubb for essentially, you know, bringing that into to that world where whoever it affected, it damn sure affected me. And I'm still out here in LA trying to crank away movies. So it's, I guess, you know, that was the start and the hook that got me for sure.
That really is an incredible story. That's like...
For Snyder, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, yeah. And to think of how many films you've helped facilitate, you know, over the years as well, right? Like to have that impact and start in that small, that's crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned Ocean's 11, I was like, that was right around that same time, you know, with all those stars. So I could imagine not just having one of them on set, but then like looking over and every third person is either Brad Pitt or George Clooney or Matt Damon or Julia Roberts, you know what I mean?
For sure.
So you're like, I have something to do now, you know?
Yeah, look busy.
That's funny.
That's awesome, man.
That's a great question, though. That I like thinking about those moments, and honestly, being at Mammoth Film Festival with a short film, that, you know, that was my first festival of any kind.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Being there and
so Mammoth Film Festival was both of our first film festivals.
Yeah, hell yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But just the vibe, the energy, everyone there loves film, is like-minded. They want to help and support each other, and yeah, that was another moment for that.
You know, do you guys find it hard to find new inspiration? I guess, you know, so like when we're growing up, we're, you know, if you were to ask me, like, you know, like, what's your favorite movies? I still say like Gladiator and Braveheart and, you know, movies that are now getting to be 30 years old. Do you ever find it hard to, you know, put like a new movie in your top 3? I guess what I mean is like when people ask me now, like, you know, what's your favorite movie? Immediately I want to go back to what it always was, so I don't, you know, make that irrelevant now. But I'm like, you know, it's like, yeah, I guess the older I get, I'm like, I love No Country for Old Men. It's like a flawless movie, but I'm like, I'm sorry, Braveheart and Gladiator. But like Braveheart, what he won an Academy Award for in '95 is like an episode of Game of Thrones now. Right. You know, half of an episode even, you know, what they used to do. But do you find it hard to find new motivating movies or movies to put in your top 10 that are new?
For me, what it is now is there is so much content out there now that we are over inundated with it to the point where like Gladiator was like in my head the movie of the year,
Yeah.
you know, and Braveheart was the movie of the year, and it was like there's all these massive films that had incredible storytelling and they hit you hard.
Yeah.
I feel like people have gotten a little bit lazy with storytelling, and we have way more of it. So now if something is special or unique, it does stand out, but then it's also immediately drowned out with another 10 films that week.
I think we got a little bit of that with Oppenheimer a little bit, you know, because it was, I mean, obviously it's a big story, big movie. The marketing on it was sensational and just had a good time. But, you know, Christopher Nolan doesn't make a movie every year, you know. And when he does, it's an important one on this, like, you know, he shot it on 70 millimeter, which is pretty relevant to most people, you know, even younger than myself. I mean, I never shot on film, you know. So I just think it's like interesting to see like coming down the pipeline. You're right, it's complete oversaturation. Back in the day, it's like when a movie would come out, it'd be like a cool movie for 3 or 4 years. Yeah. It'd have a lifespan of that long. You know, even the first like Batman was Batman until 92, and it was Batman Returns, and that was like 5 years of the same kind of character, but only 2 movies, where that would be like 4 movies now, you know? Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I was just curious to see if you guys even, you know, what about you?
I go back to Bicycle Thieves.
Oh my God.
1948, Italy.
Yeah.
Vittoria De Sici, I believe. It's father and son story.
What a great movie.
Dude.
Yeah.
It's rare finding people that have even seen it.
I think I only saw it because if I didn't watch that movie and I heard somebody reference it, I felt like I didn't know what I was talking about in film.
Right. Because
I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch this movie. It's in black and white from 19. It's Italian. I don't know what I'm getting into. It was amazing. But again, dude, the storytelling of it. And that was back when they were making movies where if you watched it with no sound on, you could still feel every part of that movie, right?
100%.
I think that's the best schooling you could ever get is, can you make a movie if you turned the sound off, you wouldn't need it to tell your story?
Speaking of schooling, it was an assignment to watch it and write about it, right? Like really? Post-war Italy, you know, and all that. And I'm like, gosh, I got to watch this old black and white from the 40s. And I said, at the end of the film, I'm like, the father and son moments of that, I was just blown away.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I cried during films, I would have been brought to tears, but like just super emotional and connected with me on so many different levels.
Yeah.
But I try not to like sound like a movie snob by saying it. It's just that had the biggest impact on me, you know?
I always thought like spaghetti westerns as well. You could take the sound off and you could still follow the story. I think you can do that with a lot of movies that we kind of grew up on, mostly like in the 70s and early 80s and stuff. But that would be the testament of like a filmmaker now is like, can you do that storytelling wise, you know?
That was another assignment, was watching the films without the volume on.
Yeah.
Right?
No way, really?
Yeah, so you could see the narrative.
I should have gone to your film school.
No, you could teach it. You could teach it, dude.
Right? That's great.
Do you have any films today that you think stand out to you as one of those? I know we were talking about.
You know, I don't. Do you ever watch stuff on an airplane and it's because you're just connected in and you know you're not going anywhere for a couple hours? And I find that I don't trust myself anymore to know. I remember watching, you had a few cocktails on the plane and I'm watching like Sherlock Holmes 2. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, yeah, I'll have another drink. Is this the best movie I've seen in a while? It was Sherlock Holmes 2, like in my top 10 right now. But I was like, maybe it's just because I'm watching it on an airplane. But I always ask people, and everybody's 9 times out of 10, movies are so much better on an airplane because you just give into it. And usually you're on headphones and you're just in your own bubble, which I feel like was our response to movies as younger kids anyway. Yeah. Because we never seen anything like that before, and everything else you're tuning out, and you have that connection, you give up to it. I'm watching movies now, and I'm like, I'm checking my phone. I'm too busy for this movie now because I feel like I've seen them all, and which I try to get out of. Which I hope I can never stop going to the movie theater because I get it there too. You know,
I think in a way we become almost desensitized to the way films have been made too. Like think about how incredible the technology is today. Like I still remember as a kid watching Jurassic Park and thinking those dinosaurs were real.
Seriously,
yeah,
it still holds up to this day.
And that film is incredible, right? But go back and watch that first brontosaurus walk by, and you're like, okay, that's a different animal right now.
You know, and it's the way the actors reacted.
Yep.
Their discovery of seeing that was still the audience's discovery. You know, I'll never forget when she's like going through a thing and he like lifts her up, twists her head.
Yep.
And she has the same reaction I think anybody would, but they're reacting to like a tennis ball, I'm sure, or something, whatever they were doing on the day. But yeah, you're right, man. It's the discovery in film, I think, has been lost a little bit in storytelling. Like the actors discovering things is the most thing to watch, which I think is why psychological thrillers become more fascinating to people.
I had this acting coach too that he was phenomenal, man, and he was telling me, he's like, everything today is so here. We're so focused on people's faces, and what it was earlier and back in the day was more you acted with your entire body. And we use that all the time. And so now it's more like we're here in the TV and we're in this area, which you see incredible performances, but you got to get up and fucking move.
We were talking about Terminator 1 a little bit earlier.
Oh yeah.
Michael Biehn would never really be cast, I think, in like maybe a James Cameron picture, but it's two different stories. But like you see Michael Biehn as like the lead actor in that, and he's kind of a smaller guy. He's doesn't have like he's like, we got to get out of here. It's like, but it's so real, and the acting, his he's so good in it and with the times, and I'm like, it's so interesting because now you get like like a Chris Hemsworth or somebody like that, and it's a different kind of leading person that you're watching in that story, and I think over time, like the acting has just what the audience has seen or what the audience has been forced to see has changed. It'd be interesting if it ever kind of went back to some more Paul Newman type of lead characters or if they even exist,
Yeah. And like the roots of theatrical acting, like really, really big in the UK, right? So you can get these incredibly emotive performances. Real quick on Sherlock Holmes 2.
My favorite movie?
I love those films. You got Guy Ritchie, Robert Downey Jr., like it's just a killer combo.
It just flew under the radar, and then when I watched it, I'm like, did nobody else think this was bitchin'? Like, this is great, right? Dude. But it was just, maybe it was a little bit more of a throwback to what we kind of grew up with, I mean, it wasn't Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels or Snatch, but it was like still Guy Ritchie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With Sherlock Holmes, and it's a sequel of all things. But I just remember thinking, like, this is tight. But that's what airplanes will do for you.
Totally there with you. Totally there with you. And then Guy Ritchie, kept it going with The Covenant that came out recently, The Gentleman.
Covenant was unbelievably good, right? Yeah, we were talking about some things maybe more recently. This year, Covenant's probably been the best movie I've seen. But it affected me. Like it actually, and it wasn't just because it was about war or whatever. It was just a story about friendship and not giving. It was a good damn story. Yeah. That's what it was. You know, done really well.
Yeah, man. Gyllenhaal killed it.
My
buddy Sean Sagar, we had him on the podcast. Actually, he was one of the main dudes in it. But yeah, man, dude, that story, that going to that length, dude, and stay, like it was eating him alive to not go back and save his family. Who this guy carried this guy across the country and across all odds still survived. Right.
It was a movie made about like doing the right thing and actually pushed, loving your fellow human. Yeah, which, I don't even make those kinds of movies. I like the ones with the blood and the guts and having the fun and, pop some popcorn and those are the kind of movies I personally like to make. But I would love to make a movie that actually really meant something. You know what I mean? That had some. I was talking to my dad, actually. I'd done a movie where I'd, played like the 11th villain I've ever played or killed all these people or something. And he's like, when are you going to play a guy who's a good guy? And I'm like, that's a good question. I guess I'm always playing something pretty evil if I'm getting to do something. But, I like to be the guy that ties the girl to the railroad tracks. It's fun.
What was the most evil one?
Well, I did a movie called 6 Bullets to Hell where I kill like 35 people in the movie. But it's a Western, so I just come running through town and I'm just shooting up everybody. I like rape and kill a woman and the guy seeks revenge on us. It's a true spaghetti Western. Yeah. Which we actually shot out in Spain. So it's
definitely
of
evil.
That Django, chain. And it's very, we had songs from Ennio Morricone in it. It was a real spaghetti Western shot on those sets. But that was probably the darkest character I've ever played.
Love it.
But my pops brought up a good point. I was like, I would like to make something that really did have a positive message and affected people positively. Although it's more fun, like I said, to tie the girl to the railroad track sometimes. But yeah, that would be something I would definitely like to do because then you can look back and always be really proud of that one. But I think that's why Covenant hit so hard.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure.
I was going to say too, like Gladiator and Braveheart, right? You get the action and you get the meaning and you get
Still a hero, you know, you had somebody to root for there. That's a great example. And, you know, I even like Count of Monte Cristo. It's a little bit older of a movie. It's one of the best stories, in my opinion, ever written.
Edmond Dantes.
Yeah. It's a shame it can't always be like this. But, you know, just a phenomenal film. It's Kevin Reynolds, I think, you know, Kevin Costner's collaborator. They did like Robin Hood and several other films and stuff. But yeah, dude, it's just, I mean, those kinds of stories, those kinds of movies would just be a blast. Like, I don't even know if anybody would care to see the Count of Monte Cristo today. And if they did, it would be like, they'd have to make it so, like, pardon if I'm going to step on anybody's toes, but it'd be so woke, it wouldn't be, you know, reminiscent of what the actual story was. They'd have to like make them, you know, this over here, or change it up. And I think that's what a lot of people maybe are getting tired of, is like, we're not, you're kind of humiliating your audience sometimes for your own agenda. And I get a lot of people saying, you know, it's like saying, hey, I want to paint a picture. It's like, yeah, you can. We'd love to see your painting, but you can't use this color. You can't use that kind of broad stroke, and you got to do this. You're limiting somebody's art for your not your own agenda. There's no such thing agenda and art. They don't belong in the same sentence.
I was just going to say that, you know, you can't make great art by following in the lines, you know what I mean?
No, and when did this become like okay? Like, when did we start being like, yeah, whatever you need? Like, I don't know when this happened, and I'm not trying to sound offensive to anybody. I'm just confused by it all. You know, I think a lot of rules were set that I guess I just didn't necessarily ever think didn't exist, like there wasn't an X amount of this people, or these people weren't represented. I've never thought that, ever, you know? And then when it was brought up, you go back and look at older movies and you're like, what are you talking about? Females were never badasses. Have you never seen Aliens? Or it's mostly females that have been badass, aside from like a few superhero guys. I mean, this is total, you know, just the debate on it, I felt like it's never had a counter debate, because nobody wants to deal with it because they know it's bullshit. So now it affects their quality of life of argument, where they don't even want to bother. They'd rather just not even dabble in such an asinine, you know, situation of stories that they're just kind of like, they kind of ignore it. But then now that's all you hear, so it feels like it's relevant when I don't think it is, you know?
100%. Like,
but what do I know? Just a doctor.
I'm just a doctor. I mean, my biggest thing too is like, you need X amount of people in a film, which I understand for like getting people jobs, right? Like 100%. But they say it's like to relate more to the characters. It's like one of my favorite movies growing up was Blade, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to be Wesley Snipes.
Right.
I am not Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
But I identified with the character, and like, it's the story and the characters.
Yeah.
That's how you relate to something. And that's what should be focused on. And, you know, it's tough when different regulations and stuff come in, and like you said, limiting creativity, it's an art form.
And there's elements that are not incorrect about that, right? But man, it's not one size fits all, and it's not that black and white, and you damn sure only shouldn't have to paint with those two colors. You know what I mean? Hell, if anything, jumping into somebody else's lifestyle, cultures, how you learn more about it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I want to play. I was talking to Brock earlier. I was like, I like to play like, you know, like hard asses and bikers and stuff like that, because I'm not.
Right.
You know, it allows me to kind of like have fun, but also understand like that world, or want to know more about it. And you know, it shouldn't be like, well, you don't own a motorcycle, you shouldn't be able to play a guy who does. And I'm like, well, isn't that why we fucking act? Isn't that why we got into this business? I'm not a pirate, and I don't own a ship either, but I would love to go play one and, you know, be on Pirates of the Caribbean. Who wouldn't? That's called being a kid and dreaming, right? And I just don't understand, like, you know, putting a glass ceiling on it, you know. This Napoleon movie coming out, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Joaquin Phoenix isn't from France.
Right.
You know, like, should they get uproarial about that? Or are they just like, oh, no, but it's okay. He's one of the best actors on the planet. He doesn't have to be from France here. It's like, where do you draw the line on? Maybe I just use that as a total example, right? And also, I can't wait to see that movie. It's going to Ridley Scott's going to be badass.
Right, yeah.
But also, that's about to be something where I'm going to dive into that culture, and it's going to lead me to finding out more about Egypt, about Napoleon, about France, about all this other stuff that I would normally probably never care about, because somebody took the initiative to say, we're going to go make this story, and it's going to be done the correct way of as history portrayed it, as opposed to like, you know, Napoleon being played by, you know, a CGI walrus or something. You know what I mean? just because I only say that to not offend any other human being. But, it's Napoleon who looks like Napoleon, and that's cool to me. You know what I mean? Like, they found the best actor to do that. And also, imagine getting to be Joaquin Phoenix and being like, dude, I get to go play this historic character. Think about how much I get to learn now about that culture to bring henceforth the best accurate, portrayal of that person.
Yep.
That's cool to me. I think it's what makes this business the most fun thing on the planet until other people have a problem with it and write horrible tweets at you or X's at you. Or just do reality golf shows now.
Dude.
Oh, dude, tell us about it.
Would be the dream.
Well, yeah, so it's going to come out in 2024. Actually, there may be one season or one episode that airs this year, but we just started a new show. Obviously, the strike's been going on, so there's no rules against playing Tanner Beard on camera. So we've been working on this show called Destination Golf, which is a spinoff of Destination and Staycation, which have been around for a little bit. But we're super stoked, man. It's just the dream show of all shows for me because I love golf. Avid golfer, been playing since I was a young man. And I get to travel around and play the signature holes of golf courses all over the nation and find out what makes each course interesting, because each course is interesting. Everything's got like a Johnson McDougall Bridge or, a interesting hot dog at the turn or some sort of drink or some sort of hole where, Arnold Palmer used to practice there or something, So it's really fun for golf enthusiasts to have a show that kind of just showcases that. And then on top of that, you get introduced as a travel show as well. So like if we go to Medora, North Dakota, for example, not only do we get to see this amazing golf course in the Badlands, but we get to go to like the town of Medora, which is a charming town that I hadn't really ever heard of just because I didn't spend a lot of time in North Dakota growing up. But, the United States is an amazing place and to find, things that can bring you out of, there. It's just a dream come true travel show, man. And I get to swing the clubs while we do it. So finally all that practice of playing golf has kind of paid off.
Dude, that is so cool to me as a concept, and I'm really excited to check that out whenever it's done.
Well, we got to just go play sometime too,
Literally anytime.
Yeah.
100%. It's funny, like you talk about like dream jobs. Everyone kind of has like 3 to 5 that they'd love to do, like running a film festival, doing a travel golf show. I'm like, damn, dude, we gotta get on this. This is awesome.
It's funny. I just, I'm sure just most like you guys, I just kind of stay exhausted. Because I will say this, man, I've been out in this business for 20 years, and I find myself keeping myself like overly extended, where like we're almost to the point where I'm like, you lose track of things. But if you've ever sat there in your room, throwing a tennis ball up against the wall, wondering why you're not doing anything, and thinking, that, well, I put all this work in and I'm not getting anything out of it. I heard a guy say like, good. That means you need to go out and do something better. I didn't get this. Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, this came my way, but it wasn't like this. Good. Go off and do better. And I think I just kind of kept my head down since we started like Mammoth Film Festival and I have a production company, Silver Cell Entertainment, to where if I'm not doing 12 things, I'm not doing one, And in this business, I just don't ever want to feel that like, inferior complex of when having nothing going on. So at least you can create your own projects and, even with graphic novels and stuff like that, stuff you never thought you'd dabble in. Now you find a new interest to it because it's one more thing you kind of get to challenge yourself and learn about, or doing a golf show, which I've never done before, but I know golf. Yep. I know shows. Why wouldn't I know how to do that? And let's go run and play. And, just like I said, just waiting to get fired on that one because we're having way too much fun on it. It can't be real. It's too cool, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's what you learn in this after being in doing anything that you love to do over a course of a decade or more. You start to realize halfway through, maybe you're doing it and you didn't realize it. You're like, I want to be in the movie industry, and maybe you look back and you're like, oh shit, maybe for the last 4 or 5 years I have been. I didn't even realize it, because the steps are so gradual after years and years. And you look at who your friends are and the camaraderie of who you're talking to, and you think like, well, maybe I am, where I'm supposed to be, and maybe I am doing the right things. Maybe I am in the industry. You just can't take yourself too serious because that's when they take it away from you.
Yeah. I love the concept of, having multiple fishing lines in the water, right? I think creativity is so vast that you really need to explore tons of different outlets for it. And you can drive yourself crazy if you're just waiting on one movie to be edited for 6 months and you're just sitting there that's a bad example, but something like that.
It's like being just an actor. You know what I mean? Living, dying by that sword. Because, I think just like most like red-blooded Americans that move out to LA, that's what, if you ask me, that's still what I would think of myself as. When this is like the least and most admirable of any credits I have. But in my heart of hearts, I knew it was the hardest thing to do for coming out here, where I look at some of the things I've gotten to produce. I got to do 4 movies with Terrence Malick, and I rarely talk about them because I didn't really have anything to do with them creatively, which I feel like that means more. But when I think about it, no, I got to be a part of those movies, and I got to have my name on them, and I am amazingly proud of them. It's just, I guess it's just you move on to the thing that keeps inspiring you, and if you were ever to believe your own applause for a second, then you wouldn't be very good at it.
Right.
Spielberg could have stopped after Jaws,
Yeah, been set for life.
And we're so lucky he didn't, that he hates that movie.
Right,
Right.
Yeah, I think today, today's day and age too, it's one of those things where back in the day, you almost had more of a luxury, in my opinion, to just be the actor, just to be the film actor, the TV actor, just the film director, TV director, commercial, whatever it may be. Now it almost is mandatory to be able to wear multiple hats, to be able to be the producer, the writer, the director.
Do you see more actors like doing that? Like I notice like big actors will now have way more executive producer credits or producer credits, and I feel like everybody's kind of had to be like, if I want to play this guy, it's not going to be offered to me anymore. I kind of have to build it, but at least I'm, Brad Pitt where I can go build it, or I'm Jason Momoa where I can go build this now, because I feel like it's not really nobody's handing anything to anybody that much these days,
Yeah.
I think Will said it greatly too about, creativity not having just a linear path, essentially. It's you look at these people, and what I found in LA, a lot of people come here for, let's say, the acting, and then they realize, oh, I love directing. Oh, I love writing. Oh, I love this. Oh, I can also wear this hat. I can do this. You see people like, Jason Bateman, who's an incredible actor. Now he's an incredible director, and I believe from, I listened to his podcast, he enjoys that even more.
Sure.
To a degree, I believe. Yeah. So, and he's incredible at it. So it's just one of those things where if you can become multifaceted and you're still passionate about it at the same time, and you're lucky enough to get to do that, you're living a pretty damn good life.
Living the dream, as they say. But also, it takes a special person to kind of do that too. And also, it's you're in the right place when you don't mind loving those other elements too. I love directing. I don't consider myself a writer at all, but I've grown to really love coming up with story concepts. You know what I mean? Like I look back and I'm like, shit, man, I've written like 10 scripts and 3 of them are published. Like whether I know it or not, I guess I'm a writer. You know what I mean? I just didn't think of myself one because I don't spell good. I'm rocking a West Texas high school education, and I've written 3 published scripts that are out there for the world to see. And I got like 6 more that I really enjoy too. That might hold a candle. But you just think of yourself as like, well, I'm not a writer, and I don't wanted to be this or whatever. But even directing and this, that, and the other. Now it's just like do I even like acting anymore? Because there's so many other things to do, and also in this industry, it's funny. Where I grew up, if you wrote it, directed it, produced it, and starred in it, you were ambitious. Coming from Texas, like that kid's gonna make it. Maybe if you write it, direct it, produce it, and star in it in LA, you're an asshole. It's like you're a conceited bastard, and it's just so funny. But it's like it kind of does work that way because you live in the industry where you only did it because you didn't have assets to it there, but it really does craft you to be a part of any project, which is fun.
I think the collaborative nature of film kind of lends itself to that a lot too, because it's really a group of people on a film set, right? You all have your jobs and your specialties and all that, but then you're kind of like, you have so much time in between takes and while you're working to really explore everything going on. And you admire that guy, you admire that person, and that might be a factor in it too.
The hardest part is to like find those people sometimes. You know what I mean? Especially if you're coming alien onto a project or you're just a work for hire or something. It is really cool to find your people early on.
Yeah.
That friendship camaraderie first. You know, I'm not a huge advocate for shorts because, you know, it seems like they're mundane, but sometimes just doing a short with your buddies or a skit, you know, grabbing a camera and going doing some skits is the most fun you've ever had.
Yeah.
And it's so back to the roots, dude. We were in Europe, me and my cousin and a buddy of ours, and I love the new camera on the iPhones, like on the cinematic mode. And we're just running around, and I'm like, you know, we're in some really cool places in Europe, and I'm like, I would love to shoot here. And I'm like, well, why don't we? So we just kind of started doing dumb shit, and now we just made this like 20-minute like speed stick commercial just because it was a joke. Because I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. We might as well make it funny. And like, you know, we're shooting by the pyramids in Egypt, and we're in Zurich, and just having a blast, and just it was a challenge for us too, because we're trying to like, how do we cultivate a story that could potentially be worth other people watching, even though this is just our home videos and we're having a blast. But it was just kind of getting back to that roots of just, it's just fun to make stories with your friends sometimes, you know? Yeah. And then if you can do that in a feature film, I mean, you're living high on the hog there. Yeah.
That's what first got me into film, was recording family vacations and spending all that time editing them on iMovie. And just sit there forever, put Red Hot Chili Peppers in there.
Yeah. Now you have to pay for that music.
Right. It's gotten crazier there.
I have a big family, and, you know, my immediate family, there's four other brothers and sisters, so there's 5 of us. Yeah. And one year I was about maybe 11. All I wanted to do was film and TV, dude, even at that age. And I got this little film camera. I don't even know if they had digital yet or not.
It was probably like a little mini DV or something like that.
You put in a little cassette.
The little tapes are that big. Oh yeah, baby.
And so I would have them film these scenes, you know, and I have my little brother play The Flash or something like that.
Yeah.
Everyone would be in the scene, in the room, right? And then I would say, all right, now I'm gonna hit pause. And then you're gonna run across the screen, and they're gonna be on. And then I'm gonna hit record again, and you'll be on. So
that's how you used to have to do it.
Yeah, and there was no editing.
But you had to
really,
figure that out. Even, you know, there was still some like mystery of like, okay, how do I make this watchable still? How do I tell this story? You know. Yeah. So you were like going to your own film school. Then you probably didn't even know it. You know.
No clue, right? But that's exactly it. And that's what I've seen with some of these sets I've been, you know, lucky enough to be on. When I was working with Danny McBride. Yeah. He has the same crew he's been working with for 20 years, man. You got David Gordon Green and Jody Hill and like all these guys, and they're just having fun.
The best. It's like the Adam Sandler cruise and
Happy Madison.
100%. And I'm like, that's the dream, right? But you know, you look at back, and those guys make it look easy, but they've been doing it for 25 to 40 plus years, some of them. You know what I mean? So. You know, maybe we're all just getting started and don't know it, but you definitely got to be in this thing for the marathon long haul of it all.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, you know, everybody's, I have been lucky to have some places, you know, outside of California that I've spent time in. But, you know, I mean, I've had my house out here, or had my place out here physically for the last 20 years, and you know, lived in a house that I love and can't leave, you know, for the last 12. And I don't know if I could ever leave, you know, because I feel like I'd be leaving my dream behind and going and cheating on it somewhere else. You know, there's something weird about this town that I don't even know if I like LA. I'm from West Texas. I can say that. I don't know if I like LA. I just know that I can't leave it. You know what I mean? Isn't that weird? But also it's the people here, the talented people here that you'd be leaving, I think, because we're all putting in the suffering for dealing with this traffic in this damn town. You know, we're all dealing with the same thing in LA, and that's a camaraderie that starts you off, you know, where it's a little bit different when you leave to go other places, because that's the one thing that does kind of bring, I think, a lot of people that do what we do, not just producers, not just actors, we do a little bit of everything. Yeah. I think living in LA brings that camaraderie together from the start, and it's a good place to start finding your people, you know?
Yeah, I think for the most part, everyone here is a dreamer. You know? So you're bringing them here for that exact same reason, because I'm in the same boat, man. Like, my dream is to live on a ranch in Wyoming, maybe 1,000 or plus acres, and just have my life, you know, and hopefully I'm writing films and making movies still and doing all that. But at the end of the day, like, I felt called to come here a decade ago, and I was sleeping on couches for years trying to figure it out, man. And then finally something clicked, and I'm like, I've always felt like I had to be here. Yeah. And so many of us feel that, right? But it's the same thing of like, so many people come here and like, oh, there's so many bad people, crappy people, and this and that. And yes, you do get that in LA, but I found the best people in the world here, man.
You know, it's like it's one big mine, and we're all just kind of chiseling away to find our little piece of gold that we can take and then go live off of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And maybe that's doing projects. Like I've done 35 plus movies, and I know that I'm proud of them, right? But I still don't think I've made that one where I'm like, all right, man, you know, that's the one where no matter what, it may not get any better than that, because I've never It's always on to the next one, you know, and you love the ones you do, but I don't think we should sit back and look back at past work and think we're done until we're really done.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe doing the movies you are doing will get you to that ranch, and then you'll be so bored with the ranch you can't wait to come back and do movies again. But at least you know you got that, you know, and movies provided that for you, which would be cool. So
there's also this component, at least for me, of like, you know, all those 20-hour days, you know, like everything, even time studying the industry and like figuring it all out, like you almost like owe it to yourself to see it through, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I put so much into this. I love it so much. And there are definitely times where you're like, man, this is a really tough, risky industry.
Yeah.
You know, should I try other things? But I just kind of always think back to like the blood, sweat, and tears you put in over the years, kind of.
I've grown to love the word no in this town. Because when you first move out here and you're 18 and wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and you think like you're a gift to this, you know, industry, and you come in and you realize that there's 48,000 other people that look just like you and do the same thing you want to do, and you don't know what you even are as a human yet to offer these things. You know, you're just like, well, I saw the bicycle, so I should know something, right? You know, it's funny to.
That's me.
Yeah,
I've seen Bicycle Thieves. So
yeah, I've seen Bicycle Thieves. I kind of know what I'm talking about, guys. I'm 18 now. Come on. But you know, you get out here and you try to find your way, and then eventually, you know, maybe you do. But do you know what it? Did you ever have a project that you maybe started, you never thought you would really come back to, and then, you know, unbeknownst to you because you never really did let it go or let it die on the vine, even though it might have got shelved for a little bit? Did you ever have a project that you came back to and you were like, I can't believe we're making this after the 6 years now, or anything like that?
I haven't had that yet. There are definitely some that could be that, right? Like some that haven't been made yet that hopefully down the road are made.
Yeah.
So I haven't experienced it, but it could happen.
I've had a few like that. What about you?
No, I'm kind of in the same, you know, because my focus early on here was to just do acting.
Yeah.
And now there's been a few that I've, you know, rather we've shot spec pieces on it, you know, like a little short, or, you know, we've developed a script and done this or that, and things fall apart, you know, egos get entangled.
Yeah, of course.
Whatever happens. But there's a couple things on the shelf that I think would be fun to bring back, but at the same time, it hasn't been. I'm stepping more into the role of a filmmaker than just an actor that wants to make films. You know what I mean? So I think that I'm in the same boat as Will, where it'll happen. I know it will. But it hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah, you're right. Probably doesn't happen as much on like the acting side as it would like the, you know, the production side. We have a movie that's we just finished called Flux, you know, and it started off as a movie that started off being shot in 2020, and it was just, you know, eventually just got to a point to where you know, with the COVID restrictions, it just had to be hiatused for just a second. And then to bring that back with only like a 7-period day of like 7 days was left on that movie. And but it was the biggest 7 days of this, you know, the whole shoot, and we just finished them in 2023. Ooh. You know what I mean? So the power of the amount of no's that went back. Why go back? It's not that good. It can't be that great. It's gonna be too hard. It's gonna be this. This person's looks different. You know, like all these no's just drove me in particular to want to see that thing get pushed off the ground. I think I wanted that movie to happen more than the director did, just because of everybody beating the leading expert, uncreative people making creative decisions. That inspires me just out of the nature of the athlete that I grew up being. It's like anybody tells you no, dude, you just lit that fire and started a huge blaze. So I actually love the word no, only because it makes me make it, you know, it's like rubbing that dirt in their eye after that, you know, because this industry is full of negativity, and that's the biggest reward is, and I'm not going to sit here and say like, never give up, kids, but never be intelligent on not taking no for an answer, you know, don't be a dick about anything, but definitely go in there, and it's like, it definitely shows you do have the power to do something if you really want it, and it's inventing the yes for yourself, you know what I mean? So
manifesting that, right?
Yeah, dude, and that's all you got out here, man. Yeah. All you got is time. That's why I was saying, I used to get real discouraged if like you heard something like a no, and then it'd be like 5 or 6 years later, and now I've been out in this town for so long, I have like stories to tell from that now, you know?
Yeah.
So that's been kind of cool, but that comes with some years. It's hard to tell somebody who's only been out here for 2 years to, you know, something like that, because it's 365 days every year. That adds up after a while.
Definitely.
Yeah. But that comes along with filmmaking too, you know, like you're saying, when you make a film, every one of them to me is different. And there's no, obviously, they can't all be the same.
Sure.
The process is not the same. The problem solving is not the same.
Yeah.
With all the issues, some of them are more massive than the others, you know. But you learn little things from every single one, every single set, every person you work with. If you're willing to listen and watch and be attentive,
Yeah.
you will learn lessons, which in turn, through time, makes you a better filmmaker.
You know what's interesting too is if they were ever going to, like, you know, teach acting classes or something, I think a new challenge would be is go have somebody say 2 or 3 lines and then go have them sit in a corner and wait for 2 hours. And then come back and get ready to do the next like 2 or 3 lines, because that's where all of a sudden, you know, you're like, there's no real handbook on that, you know, like what do you do when you have to shoot, then you got to wait for the turnaround or you know something like that. I was like, that would be a good exercise for actors coming in. Is like, all right, go, you've memorized your monologue, cool. You're going to say half of it and then go wait for 3 hours and then come back and say the other half.
Hurry up
then you'll
and
be
wait.
ready for the pictures, kid.
Yeah.
It really
wait.
is that too. You know, you'll go to set and you think you're ready to go and you're ready to shoot everything, and then you wait around for 8-10 hours and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
now I have no energy.
No,
how
dude,
do I do this?
That would be the new kind of cool film school, right? Is to like movie acting on a real, you know, picture where it's
them through
exactly
all
what
the
you
real
said.
life.
Yeah, dude, we were shooting a movie Day for Night recently, and like we're in the like kind of in the middle of this like fight scene at the end, you know, and we're waiting on a cloud, you know, and it's like, I mean, 25, 30 minutes started to go by, and you're like, fuck, what's my line again?
Yeah.
You know, like we were just in this, like you get totally taken out of it. And then it's like, okay, guys, we're going. You're like, and then like the wind's blowing and all this stuff's different, you know, and it's just like, it makes it fun, you know, but I'm like, that would be you know, I'm with Mammoth Film Festival. We're really into like teaching and seminars and all this other stuff. I'm like, that would be a cool class is film acting, but who wants to sit there and wait for 2 hours, you know, within this class, but that would make you good.
Bring a book.
Bring a book. Yeah. Bring a book. Sleep in between if you want.
Have you ever had it where you're on set and you've ran this and figured out how you're going to play it and you're going to do all this stuff, and maybe you have a smaller role on the thing, and they tell you to do the exact opposite, and you had not prepared it that way whatsoever?
Yeah, but you know what? That's when just knowing your lines and knowing who, you know, what the honesty of the scene is, that's when it's just like, that's when like your real acting comes into play. That's what I think, like, because everybody knows how they want to look and how to do it, but then you realize you get there and like somebody says a line differently to you, and you have to react a certain way. That's when you're like, if this kind of moment could only last forever, that's being in the, you know what it is? It's like you watch a football game that lasts like 3.5 hours. And what do they play? Like 11 minutes of actual football from the time the whistle blows to the whistle blows. You know what I mean? That's kind of like acting. It's like, you know, you were on set for a month, but there was only like 18 minutes, you know, that you actually were flying, you know, with, you know, soaring the sky with that amount of euphoria that acting can bring to you, you know? Yeah. So, that's why you keep coming back, I guess. Just like filmmaking or anything else, you know.
I mean, that's why time is so important too, right? Because like I think of that gap time as like from a PA perspective, running around like thinking the world's gonna end, trying to solve something or do something. But then I remember when we were scheduling on the resort, our horror film, there was a storm that came in, and we had to we had one helicopter day, and that was it. And we basically had to make the decision, let's plan like we're going to do it, and the storm is going to pass. And sure enough, you know, 6 a.m. comes around, storm goes away, and we were able to shoot it. And I'm like, literally, thank God.
Yeah, it's so funny. There's sometimes it's the worst thing that can ever happen to you, or just amazingly, the Lord opens up something where like the sky's clear and you have your day, and it's like, yeah, this is why we do it. But again, it's that camaraderie on set where everybody kind of gets to share in that. And that's hard to like describe. It's like being on a sports team, you know? It's like everybody gets to win. You got 11 other players on the team, and you're all high-fiving because you have that unified goal. That's something that's really special about movies too. But we can sit here and talk all day, you know, but that's why I think all of us love movies and love to learn more about them, and especially the old ones, man. I always wonder about like, man, what was it like on the set of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, you know?
Yeah.
Or something like that, you know?
I love, if you go back and watch some of those old special effects that they used to do where it was like distance or like the steamboat coming through or whatever, and it's really like a 2
It's
foot.
it's all the proximity, shooting
They look
and stuff.
they're skating around and they're about to fall off a cliff and they don't notice
dude,
it.
how did those guys get so clever in doing, like, where were they just playing around with?
George Lucas, baby.
Yeah, man,
George
I'm
Lucas,
telling you,
yeah.
I don't even have that kind of knowledge. It's or nor do I have the playground to go and play with that kind of stuff. But the everything's changed since then too. You just throw CGI, just put a green screen behind it.
Yeah,
it would be
fix it in
nice.
post. Fix it in post.
Yeah, right.
It would be a dream to work with ILM and do some of that stuff. And oh man,
You wonder how Peter Jackson learned a lot of that stuff, or maybe his team just knew better and they all got to collaborate on it.
Speaking of like effects that have lasted, man, you go back and watch The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That's, I'd say, the best trilogy of all time.
Oh, dude, I mean,
Right,
it's,
like-
it's amazing. He didn't have anything to do with the TV show, but
Yeah.
it showed. Can I say that? Can I have an opinion on this show and not get canceled?
Allowed for an opinion. Absolutely.
You can have an opinion. We can't promise to cancel it.
Yeah,
but-
no, I've already been canceled, so just waiting on that.
No, I think anybody who genuinely watched that show can say that it was not.
It wasn't what I would expect.
Yeah, it did not correlate to the trilogies, the originals, in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
in my
and
opinion.
it's unfair because we're going to be those ones that liked it, and we're going to have those opinions. If I was younger and I hadn't seen the other ones that didn't have an opinion, they probably loved it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty about being an audience member is we get to like it or hate it, and that's why we watch it.
But then you have like the generational aspect where I'm like showing my little brother the original trilogy, making sure he sees that first, then the prequels, right? Then the prequels.
Yeah, I don't have any kids, but if I ever did, I'd be like, I would never start them out with anything current. Like they'd have to start in like the early 80s, work their way up to the 90s. By the time he's like 6, maybe he can jump into the 2000s of movies. We'll show him Shrek for the first time or something, but not till he's seen like Goonies and all the other stuff first. So my kids would have like a nice lineage of movies to watch so they can appreciate the stuff.
100%.
I mean, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I mean, I try as much as I can with my little brother for sure.
Yeah.
And then when I have a kid one day and I have like more control over what he watches, I'm gonna like
"Dad,
whiteboard
this
it out
sucks."
and like
no, it doesn't.
yeah,
You'll see what sucks later.
right.
This is good.
We're getting to 2020. Don't worry. No,
Spend
man,
hours on that.
It's what you said too. Like for me, filmmaking, it's exciting because I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I don't know where I'm gonna be tomorrow. But when I get there, you get to problem solve on a high level, man. And you do it with a bunch of people, and some of the highest level people, obviously, the Scorseses, the Tarantinos, like all the high level directors. Everyone's doing it in their own way, whether you're telling the story, whether you're producing, whether, you're even just being a PA on set, it's like you're figuring out whose coffee can I get the quickest, how do we got to do this the right way to not make anybody pissed off.
Yeah.
But that's something that for me is extremely exciting about a set is like, dude, I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. And when you get there, you get this like high off of it, and you're like ready to go. You're charged up. It's these highs and these lows, which can be intense, but they're also like,
There is.
where else can you get that?
I make a lot of my own films. I've been doing that since I was younger, and there's an anxiety that is lost sometimes when you know that like it's not necessarily you don't have anybody to answer to. But I hadn't acted in a tremendous amount of stuff recently, and I got to do 3 pictures earlier on this year. Kind of one right after the other. And I had this amazing anxiety for acting, which it used to be like that was in my mind, my strong suit, And I would get on set and I felt this amazing anxiety because it wasn't my movie, or I was working for somebody else. And I was like, fuck, dude, I mean, I guess this is what I'm going to do. Like, and you have all this time to think where when you're making the movie, you don't have any time to think about anything because you're go, go, go. But I lost that anxiety a little bit, and it was cool to have it back only because you forget that that's why you really like it. Even though you're like, you're like, you want to run and hide sometimes or like, dude, I don't even know if I like this anymore. I don't even know. I'm thinking about this shit too much. I should be enjoying this. But then when they call action and it goes, you're like, man, I miss that anxiety sometimes because sometimes when you are the writer and a director, you kind of get you have a lot of escape routes for that, and you're like, well, you can't tell me what to do. This isn't wrong because I say it's right, But when I'm not on your movie, and there is some punishment there possibly. It's a lot of fun, and I really did miss that. I'd like to bring that back into all elements, you know. The anxiety is actually your friend, you know.
Yeah.
Grab it by the arm and pull it close to you.
There is so many like probably psychological effects of like what you're describing right now, right? And I love it. I love like going into that because it's totally true in like some weird human way.
Yeah.
It reminded me of like on not Return of the Jedi, on Empire Strikes Back, George Lucas brought in another writer and another director, right? And they worked for weeks on end to really balance like fun dialogue with a good story. And Lucas was able to give up his creation to two people that really understood it. And arguably the best film out of all three of them, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was because he didn't direct it, right?
Could have been. Yeah.
I think that played a big
Not
part in
everything
it.
was so precious to him, or somebody else got to. I mean, what a world to build that other people could just dive into themselves. But
Totally.
yeah, I agree, man. The second one was the best. Oh, the second one back then, I guess. What is it? The seventh one now?
Yeah.
Right.
I lost track. I love The Mandalorian too, though. As far as like somebody bringing back something interesting, you know. I mean, Favreau is just a person that was self-made and just is owning the world these days, right?
Dude.
He kicked
Next
off
level,
Marvel with Iron Man, right?
100%. I mean, that's what I mean. Is like almost kind of underrated how amazing Jon Favreau is. I think.
He'll go down in the,
Oh,
in
yeah.
the record book side. I mean,
No, but I mean, you're exactly right. When you start looking at what this guy has done, and you're like, that dude?
Dude, he wrote his own shit. Like wrote his own acting parts when he was younger. You know, like Swingers. And Made, and you know, coming up with like Vince Vaughn and just grinding it out, directing some other stuff, writing some other stuff. I mean, who would have thought Jon Favreau, after watching something like Made or Swingers, would be the guy to literally create his own version of Star Wars with Mandalorian, or due to the Jungle Book, or you know, some of these other just Iron Man. My God, you know.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you, like, we don't know anything about anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Guy's a legend.
Yeah, you go from Swingers to that. Like, what an interesting career path.
Yeah.
Not a Tarantino where it's like, okay, he's got a style instantly.
See, I don't even know what his style is.
Exactly.
I just know his movies are pretty damn good. You know?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah,
It'd be hard to define.
Yeah. That's a good point.
His style is Robert Downey Jr., I guess.
Dude, I'm such a big fan of Downey.
Chaplin, such an underrated movie, man.
Yeah. I actually watched that the other day.
It's so good. It's unreal how good that movie is.
Yeah, it reminds me of like not Chaplin, but you know, you're talking about Favreau, like even somebody like Taylor Sheridan, right?
Yep.
Dude, Wind River,
dude.
amazing.
First
and
time
I
I
like
saw
Tell Her
that-
High Water, but then I saw Wind River next, and I'm like, damn, dude, this Taylor Sheridan guy. You're talking about the guy that was like the cop on Sons of Anarchy, wrote all this shit. This is amazing.
Yeah, and
You
now
know?
look at his career now, dude.
That's what I mean. Just kind of goes to show you, like, it's hard not to judge a book by its cover in this. And that's another thing that sucks about this industry, too, a little bit, is like, oh, you did a comedy? Well, what do you know about horror? Oh, you did a horror? What do you know about comedy? You know, it's like you almost have to, like, go. It's the power of no, though.
Yeah.
It's like, no? Well, good. I'm glad you said that. Watch this. You know, I mean, I think that's why either buckle down to it or rise. It makes you rise from the ashes, you know?
Yeah.
And to a degree, a lot of times people do pigeonhole you in this industry, so you will get stuck in that comedy role or in that horror role over and over and over again until you do something to shake it up. I mean,
which is impossible to find a way to do usually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's again, it's like it's amazing to see people who can finally find a way to be versatile or work with you know, like a director. That's why you see like Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, they did 20 movies together.
Yep.
You know, Tom Hanks and Ron Howard were working together for, you know, a long time. Spielberg and Tom Hanks, DiCaprio and Scorsese. I think when they just find their team that will let them both go be completely different every time they show up, that's who you know want to work with the majority of the time, I guess. So
You talk about like new movies going into your top 10. The Departed is one of them for me.
so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I was like, that's, whew.
I know. It's one of those ones. There's a few movies, if you see them on TV, you just kind of still stop and watch them, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I think the secret to movies from now on is we have to create a theater together that's all airplane seats and just literally 5x7s, man.
Yes.
theater with airplane seats.
we're
It's not a
gonna-
bad
we're
idea.
gonna
Everybody
save
just wears
movies, man.
headphones, you know?
We're gonna save the movies.
And unlimited Casamigos.
And also,
Hey,
you mentioned
to Casamigos.
Yeah.
Cheers.
there it is, man. Cheers. I wanted to say congratulations on winning the Tim Burton Award.
Dude,
Yes.
thank you,
Dude.
man. That's probably the coolest coolest thing that's ever happened to me since I've been out here. And, you know, it was on Tim Burton Day at the Burbank International Film Festival with Tim Burton being there, and then just getting to sit and listen to him for, you know, an hour, and then let alone win the Tim Burton Award, you know, for Radio Telescope, which was, you know, something that we did for, you know, Mammoth Media Institute, and showing that as kind of an example film and stuff up there. That was pretty cool, man. Pretty cool, especially living so long in Burbank and stuff too. You know, it was, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. That was one that all of us shared in that movie. But I got to keep the trophy, so I'm going to put it right on the mantle there.
What was your favorite part about that film?
About the Radio Telescope?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think it was just the idea of when we made it. Again, it was kind of like everybody was telling us, like, you know, you shouldn't do this. Like, it's a short or, you know, an episode of The Twilight Zone. Where's this going to live? And I'm like, you know, it's more about, can we go out and pull the rug out from the audience on this one? Can we use these practical effects? Like, can we find cars from the 80s for cheap? Can we have a story to tell about making this story? If we're going to own a film festival and talk about film, we should probably be in the gauntlet quite a bit to talk about these things. And then luckily, it was just fun to put it in some festivals and give it some legs to see how audience would react. And the majority of it's been what we were hoping for, which is like, you know, reactions. And then people coming up and being like, I felt something from that movie.
Oh, man.
Because moving forward, if I'm going to make movies, if I'm not asking and answering one question, which was, who is this movie for? And if my answer is not the audience, it's not the kind of movie I really want to make. You know, I'm just not one of those artists that is like, I need to make something that, you know, is about me and my, you know, father, you know, when we would go fishing or something. You know, it's like, I just don't have that. I would much rather make like kind of fun popcorn movies that I was inspired by, like the Indiana Joneses and these amazing big stories is a lot more fun. But doing something like Radio Telescope was, you know, building the alien and whatnot, you know, all that stuff was a blast, you know.
Except if it's father and son finding a bicycle. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, that's a different story. That's when you just learn like what good cinematography is and stuff too, you know.
You were talking about fans' reactions, and I got to witness what I believe was the first screening.
Yeah,
of
it
Radio
was.
Telescope.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
And I can tell you right now, I have to say, I probably saw the best reaction of anybody ever to Radio Telescope. Please, can you share? What happened
so
with us?
my business partner Tomic Mansouri, we you know, it was kind of like an example. Can we make a huge misdirection of the audience with this picture? That's what the whole point of the process was, and then talk about it after that. And so we made the movie, and the movie kind of ends a certain way, and then we went off in a secret skeleton crew and actually shot a secret ending to the movie. And then we somehow amazingly kept that a secret for 6 months. And then when we premiered it at Mammoth Film Festival, I couldn't believe that nobody had let the cat out of the bag that we had shot this like skeleton crew and a secret ending. So the movie kind of like, it has like an ending, and then it has like a kind of a secondary ending. And I remember I was sitting next to Tomic, and he was kind of like, what the hell?
It's clapping like it's
He's like, what is this? And I was just like, watch. And so it's this really pulls the rug out of you kind of ending. And after it was over, it was like, not only did we get kind of to see like the audience's responses, but then we got to hear like the producer of the movie literally also get misdirected. And it just like really amplified what that, you know, panel discussion was all about. And it was just like a lot of fun, but we're just pranksters. Again, it's camaraderie, having fun while you're still making movies with the people that you. So, you know, if you're going to produce, just don't produce with me or you'll get pranked, you know. But you were on Oceans, I'm sure, you hear famous stories about Clooney always pranking all the people and stuff, you know. So I just feel like we were following suit there.
But doing it on the level of like actually including it in the film and like doing it that way, I mean, that's incredible.
Dude, that's next level pranking right there.
Exactly.
That's my, I have some goals, I guess, to look forward to.
Dude, and then to receive an award for it, do you think that kind of false ending paid a big part of getting the award?
You know, I think, I don't know. Well, it's just a lot of luck, and I'm just super grateful for it. But I will notice this in the smaller story form telling, very rarely is your movie for an audience. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people go to experiment with shorter form storytelling to, you know, find something out for their own personal type of storytelling. A lot of people aren't like, let's make a popcorn movie. And really, this is kind of an episode of like The Twilight Zone. It's in the short film category for sure, but it's kind of like a one-off episode, so to speak, like a Black Mirror or
Okay.
Twilight Zone, more so than anything. But I think that's what's missing in a lot of films these days is nobody really wants to make it for an audience. They want to go make it for themselves, which isn't wrong. You know, people make songs all the time to evoke emotion and release, and a lot of people get inspired by that. But sometimes you're just like, I want to rock an audience. Let's do something cool. Let's, you know, maybe this song won't really have a lot of rhymes that make sense. Let's just jam for the audience. And I think I'm more into that right now because with the film festival, I get to see quite a bit of movies every year.
Right.
And I wish, you know, some of them I'm like, man, it'd be pretty cool if this movie was like for an audience as opposed to it kind of having this really humdum, drab ending. You know what I mean? It's like if the girl goes back in there and she tells the guy, I love you, this movie sucks. But if she goes back in there and blows everybody away with a machine gun, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I love that.
That's great, man.
So,
Well, yeah, congrats again.
well, thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude. And I'm sure I've taken up a lot of y'all's time. But, dude, thank you for having me on. It's been so much fun talking film, especially with some festival alumni.
Woo!
Yes, sir.
I hope
Mammoth,
you guys come
baby.
back to Mammoth. We're going in 2024 will be February 29th through March 4th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I hope everybody can make it up. But we're still open for submissions through December 9th.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, man, we're going to have some movies that the Mammoth Media Institute helped produce this year, premiering up there, like Flux.
That's awesome.
Tyrese Gibson's in that with Shelley Hennig and Shiloh Fernandez, directed by Brendan Murphy. So we're just excited to tell the story of how that got done, you know, through several years of not taking no for an answer. And it's a fun one, man. Just, again, one for the audience, you
Hell
know,
yeah.
so that'll be fun and exciting to share with everybody. But I hope to see you guys up there, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll be there, man. It'll be a lot
right.
of fun, dude. It's always a good time, and I'm coming for redemption, dude.
That's right.
We got to win that bowling
We
game.
have some bowling to
Yeah,
win.
well, I'm practicing. Trust me, we're going in.
I'm going to come in as Bill Murray with the hair and the showdown ELO coming on.
Hell yeah, dude. Amazing.
Awesome,
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I sure appreciate it, man.
dude. Appreciate you,
Cheers.
brother.
All right.
Thank you for watching Studio 22.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And follow our socials at Studio 22 Podcast.